probably, no, that's not true. Never mind. Forget I said that. I'll do your class in July because she does community. This is different. So.
Got it.
Perfect.
Great.
And Erin, we should probably send Catherine the information about the MIVPAC session at conference.
I believe, Catherine, you may have already been included. Did you by chance receive an invitation from the Minnesota Injury and Violence Prevention Action Coalition, MIVPAC for short?
I believe that I did, but I didn't, I thought it was just a mass mailing. So let me find that. MINPAC?
MIV.
V.
MIVPAC.
I believe I added Catherine and Kay. Catherine, you may have
Nice.
already been on the list, but Kay I added. Catherine, Kay is going to be at our conference.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's why we look at it because
What? Huh?
May 4th. I have it here. Oh my word, last week. Oh, I have a, that's why I didn't look at it. I'm teaching in Burnsville that morning and I actually just got, I'm trying to figure out if I could do two. I have a 10 a.m. and then someone requested something at noon in Bloomington and I'm thinking, can I get through a class and over to Bloomington in time? So I won't be able to, I won't be there for that, but Kay will be, so that's good.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
No, I think you can squeeze it in. Let's be positive here.
Well, you know what? I am from Michigan, which is the Motor City. I'm from outside of Detroit. My maiden name is Landis, and I do have the nickname Leadfoot Landis. So
Okay.
I was like, yeah, I could probably do it. They're right next to each other.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I rented the car in for St. Cloud, and I picked my car up and I got home and my tire was completely flat. It's a VW Atlas and usually like it goes 5 pounds below its regulated, lights start flashing. So I don't know how it happened. And so consequently, 4 new tires for $1,000. So I'll be talking about that in the reframing today. But my husband goes, well, this is going to be so much better for you in the winter because we know how you drive.
Oh,
It was so funny. Like,
that's a
what?
whole separate conversation, right, Paul?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
That's a completely different conversation.
We'll be following up with you later, Catherine. On
Oh,
that.
that's right. Oops, I was calling the wrong people. Oh my gosh, I actually didn't even think about that.
That's funny. If you'd happen though to drive down to St. Peter and past the world's largest candy store with the big yellow, the big yellow candy store, their signage out there changed. Paul, have you seen their signage now?
I have not.
They change it, every day or every week, and it's, it says slow down. There's a cop hiding behind this sign. And as you're driving by, there is literally a police car on the other side. And, you don't know if there's someone in it or not, but it's brilliant. It totally catches your attention. And they did it on their own. They did not, but they then partnered later with local law enforcement who thought it was a great idea. So it got our attention.
Nice.
That's
Definitely.
good. I don't go more than 10 over the speed limit. So. But yeah,
that makes you very normal.
Going with the flow.
I definitely, I got a ticket when our son was at Iowa State, so I'm better with that. So, all right.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. It is 11:30 and we are about to start our session. I would like to ask everybody, if you would, to mute yourself. That would be great. And we will ask you to participate in the chat as we go along the way. So we would love your input and insights and reactions. That would be just great. My name is Paul Aasen. I'm with the Minnesota Safety Council. And today we are joined by Catherine Christiansen, who is an employee wellness educator with NAMI Minnesota. NAMI has been a great partner in delivering these webinars. And we look forward to getting positive with Catherine. So Catherine, take it away.
Thank you so much, Paul. Yes, we're going to be positive, and we're not talking about toxic positivity. We're talking about gratitude awareness and positive psychology. So hello, as Paul said, I'm Catherine Christiansen, pronoun she, her, and I'm with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We are the state chapter of the national program. We have been around for about 40 years. You might, if you can't remember it, if it's NAMI or NAMI, you can always remember the NAMI mommies. It was started by a group of parents around a kitchen table who wanted to advocate for the mental health of their families. And so that's what we do. We are steadfast in our commitment to supporting those with mental illnesses and their families, or as I like to say, those that love them. We do support groups, public programs, advocacy work. We have a great walk at the end of September, which you might consider making some teams and supporting. And you can find out more information on namimn.org. Paul, you did cut out for a minute. So if I do cut out, please reach out to Erin or Paul, and they will be monitoring the chat. There are a couple of opportunities for participation. So just sit back and take this next 50 to 60 minutes that is being provided for you. We can all use some positive psychology, especially now we've got geopolitical Ukraine stuff coming at us. So the constant, what did they just say at the Minnesota Department of Health, the disease of despair. So let's look at some happy things. So what we're going to talk about today is how positivity can affect our mental health. And then we're going to learn some tips on how to focus on our strengths and improve our mental health. I like to start all my presentations with just taking a couple of deep breaths. We're going to inhale for 4 and exhale for 6. I want you to try to do a deep belly breath. And I have my hands on my belly. It's you push your stomach out. When we do those deep belly breaths, we stimulate our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our relaxation nervous system. We're going to inhale for 4, exhale for 6, just a couple of times. I don't know if your screens are off because I can't see anybody, but this is a wonderful shot of a favorite spot in Ely. You're welcome to just imagine a wonderful sunset or close your eyes. But let's just put aside those to-do lists, those emails that need to be answered, and come together. And we're going to start by doing 2 deep breaths. So inhale for 4 and exhale for 6. Inhale for 4 and exhale for 6. Thank you. You want to make kind of a whooshing noise when you exhale, just to move that energy out. And if you're having a really bad day, you can just do a as you exhale. And if nothing else, it'll make you laugh. So let's get started. Let's define mental health and mental illnesses. Mental health, as defined by the World Health Organization, is a state of well-being in which we realize our own abilities, we can cope with the normal stresses of life, we can work productively and fruitfully, and we're able to make a contribution to our community. Mental illness, or ill-being as I like to say, can disrupt a person's thinking, feeling, mood, ability to relate to others, and their daily functioning. We are in this pandemic. We're getting into the endemic phase of it as we come on out, but now we're still living with uncertainty, and now we're really dealing with the fallout from the last couple of years. We're still having a roller coaster of change and emotions. As I mentioned, we have the Ukraine added on here. There's been tornadoes and really extreme weather in certain parts of the country and here in Minnesota as well. There's a lot of burnout. There's short staffs. If you look at scarcity, it's not only just empty food shelves. Our bandwidth is limited. We just have so much on our plates. There's constant pivoting. Now, as we all start returning to the office, I know you all have started to transition back. A lot of places are having hard and soft starts the beginning of May. Now we have to get used to something else again. Maybe it's a different space you're moving into. I was working with an organization last week. They've remodeled. So not only are people coming back after being gone, they're coming to a new environment. Perhaps you have colleagues that you've never met in person. So again, we're doing that pivoting. We're going to have to refigure out our boundaries. I'm a big hugger, and I've really had to watch myself because we've been trained the last couple of years to be afraid of other people due to the virus. So just think about that constant pivoting, and perhaps you haven't really fully processed the last 2 years. I'm getting better at it. We really need to realize that the workplace of 2019 no longer exists. We do have a once in a lifetime or at least once in a generation opportunity to change things. And it's really wonderful that your team has provided these programs for you throughout the year. And hopefully we can continue to normalize the conversation and talk about it. Because this pandemic has led to adults struggling with their mental health. The one silver lining with COVID, I believe, is that it has raised the conversation and has elevated the discussion about it. It played out on the world stage with the Olympics. But these numbers just came out recently that depression and anxiety increased from 1 in 10, and now they're saying 1 in 3. 36% of people have reported difficulty sleeping. There's been difficulty eating, increase in alcohol use. I don't know if you remember, my years are all blurring together, but in the beginning of the pandemic, a meme came out, a joke came out with this huge stadium that was just packed with people, and it said, first AA meeting after quarantine. And it was funny, yet also really hard, because what we've learned, and I have recent statistics on the next slide, there's been an increase in alcohol use and a significant increase in deaths due to alcohol use. There's been worsening of chronic conditions. Due to traditional roles, more women than men have struggled having to pick up the extra daycare, the child care, the house care, and more younger adults with suicidal ideation. Our younger son has major depressive disorder, and he became suicidal again when in the beginning of quarantine. He's doing great. It's important to know that there is hope for recovery, and mental illness is like any other illness. It can be treated, and there is hope for recovery. But having said that, we are all struggling from this current time that we're in. As I mentioned, these numbers just came out in the last 10 days. This is from the CDC. There was a 25% increase in alcohol-related deaths, and that's liver, chronic conditions, and everything, over the previous 10-year increase of 3.6 to 25%. Last March, the Minnesota Department of Health presented some statistics. There was a 20% increase in accidental overdoses due to alcohol. So again, the meme is funny, but a lot of people were turning to alcohol as a coping mechanism. We've all heard about the opioid epidemic. That has gotten worse during the pandemic as well. Deaths increased from 38% to 55%. These situations can be compounded for those that are already living with a mental illness. And now we're learning again, as we're coming out of this, and what I call is the fallout from COVID. There's long haul COVID that we're learning about. Prior to the identification of long haul, we found that 34% of people that contracted the virus experienced depression and anxiety. So that creates stress. Stress can impact our mental health through depression, anxiety, and mood swings. It can also give us real physical symptoms with headaches, sleeplessness, maybe back pain, and it can lead to diabetes, easy for me to say, heart disease, and high blood pressure. I'm going to encourage you all to hydrate. I just had a class right before this, and I'm over the furnace in this room, so take a drink. It's good for your brain, for headaches. It's good for preventing depression. Great for your skin. Hydration. Okay. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are steps that we can take for better health, and that's what we're going to talk about in our positive psychology, along with drinking water. So, as an overview, I'd like you to consider that movement, exercise, fitness as one, nutrition and sleep as your core foundation for building a mentally healthy lifestyle. So just a brief overview. It is recommended that adults get 30 to 60 minutes a day of exercise 3 to 5 times per week. And I'm not talking about boot camps or going out and starting some great new exercise routine. It's really about finding what works for you and moving your body. It can be broken up in 3 10-minute 10-10-10s just to get your heart rate up. I was recently reading an article that discussed exercise snacks, where as you are able, whether desk yoga or standing up, whatever you're able to do, you get your heart rate up for just a minute during the day. And it helps even those that are athletes have higher performance. And it just breaks up that sedentary lifestyle that sadly we've all become a bit too used to. So think about taking breaks throughout the day. We're going to talk about brain plasticity, but I also want you to think about your brain as being a high performance machine, like a race car or a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. Can't really say Tesla because that uses a battery, but the other ones you put premium fuel in. Well, our brain is on 24/7. It has a glymphatic system that when we sleep, it flushes out the toxins and then refreshes the cells for the next day. So we want to make sure that we're getting adequate nutrition, recognizing that we used to call it food deserts are around, but it's not really food deserts. It's lack of resources or social determinants of health. So when you can get nutritious food, eat the rainbow, drink more water. That sleep is so important. 7 to 9 hours for adults. So keep a routine, go to bed at the same time. I always wash my face, brush my teeth, read a little bit. When we create those routines, we signal our body that it's time to relax. And again, we want to just flush out all those toxins and get some really good sleep. The temperature's changing again, hopefully. The lighting's changing. Check on those conditions that help you sleep better. So exercise, nutrition, and sleep, very important. And now we're going to talk about positive psychology. People who are positive are more creative, able to experiment with new information because they're a little more open-minded. They can concentrate better, and it's been shown that they can achieve more and have higher academic success if you're going to school or if you are learning new things on the job. People who are positive are more optimistic, and that leads to resilience. They live longer and they're less vulnerable to disease. When we're positive, when we focus on what's of value to us and what our strengths are, it can protect us from falling back into that reptilian brain, the amygdala, that emotional fear. I'd like you to think about being at a sporting event or a concert or maybe a wonderful team meeting where everybody's fired up and they're all cheering for the same thing. I don't know if you can hear a chocolate lab. She's in her reptilian brain right now barking. So energy is, or emotion is energy in motion, and we feed off of each other, right? So if you can avoid that, falling into that emotional fear, think about when the toilet paper just all emptied out from the stalls, or from the stores. We all feed off of each other. So we want to build that resilience by being positive and trying to stay away from that old fear factor. So positive psychology is a relatively new arm of psychology. It was started in 1999. Dr. Mike, as we call, wrote a book on flow. You may have experienced being in the zone or the flow when you're doing something that you're really good at and it's coming naturally and you're super fired up. Dr. Martin Seligman and Dr. Mike, we're going to call him because I cannot pronounce his last name, were vacationing in Hawaii, and actually Dr. Mike was being thrown against, he was swimming and got caught in an undertow, was being thrown against the rocks. Dr. Martin helped him out, or Professor Martin helped him out of the water, and they started talking, and they were talking about the fact that they really wanted to look at a different arm of positive psychology where we start focusing on the strengths. So up to this point, psychology had been focusing just on the illnesses. We tend to think of neck up and neck down when we're working on mental health in general. But positive psychology focuses on an individual's strength. Take a drink. You didn't know we were going to be playing a drinking game, did you? But it's water. So positive psychology focusing on our strengths. What it does is it encourages people to discover and nurture their character strengths rather than channeling their efforts into correcting shortcomings. So if you think about it, if you think about just a traditional job, your annual review, there's always, what are you good at? What do you want to improve? And it's important to be aware of those. But we don't really want to focus our energy on where we are less strong, because we are given our talents for a reason. That's what we're good at, just like someone else is good at something else. Where we're weak, others are strong. So this helps us live more harmoniously and work more collaboratively together. I just saw this quote, whatever makes you weird is probably your greatest asset. So think about that. Think about when you feel really good, when you're in the flow. So this helps us shift our negative outlook to a more optimistic view of life, which will improve our quality of life. So any questions or comments? I'm just going to take a brief pause there for a check-in.
Nothing at the moment.
Okay,
Thanks,
perfect.
Catherine.
Thanks. So the first study that was done that was able to actually really highlight the ability to change our neural pathways and this neuroplasticity, and realizing that we actually can have positive impact by changing the way we think, was done with London cab drivers. It's from the year 2000. Was a study done by Eleanor McGuire. And what she looked at was the brains of London cab drivers and just regular old folks on the street. And what they found was, and I'll just back up a little bit, London cab drivers have to memorize the maps of the city before they can get a job. And the streets are old and they're winding and they're very confusing. And what they found in these London cab drivers versus the general population is that their hippocampus, which is our memory area of the brain, was much larger. And in the more experienced drivers, it was even larger than others. And it introduced this idea of neuroplasticity. Because up until this point, we had really thought that, I mean, I'm sure you've heard that, well, you can't learn a language after the age of 3. And there are some benchmarks as people grow up, but it's really more of an idea. If you don't use it, you lose it. So we do have the ability to change the way we think to have positive outcomes. So what neuroplasticity is it's the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming neural connections throughout life. So you may have seen that to prevent Alzheimer's and aging, it's really important to stay connected, to start practicing new things, and not even just get good at something. It's really important to try something new. So if you think back to what I said earlier about not focusing on our weaknesses, I'm not talking about not trying new things and only doing what we're good at. I'm talking about doing what you're good at, recognizing that flow, and then continuing to learn new things. We know that we can enhance our cognitive capabilities due to neuroplasticity. There's ability to recover from strokes and traumatic brain injuries, also called TBIs. And what we learn also from pruning is that some functions are lost or decline as we age because we don't use it. I mean, I don't remember anything from high school algebra, thankfully, because I don't use it. But what we're going to talk about now is just promoting that brain fitness. So you can think about a path in the forest, one that's walked or used often. It's more clear than the one that isn't used. And that's where we get the use it or lose it, but also the ability, because if you start walking on that path on the right, you will form a new neural pathway and you'll create a new path where you can see the dirt and the overgrowth starts to move away. So strength training for your brain. We want to reinforce the neural pathways of love, gratitude, safety, peace, and calm. When we do that, we can reduce the emotional fear that occurs and we build our resilience. So I'd like you to think about when you look in the mirror as a cat, see yourself as a lion. From philosophers throughout the ages, Oprah, what we dwell on is what we become. Buddha, we are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. And even Socrates, we are what we think. The funny thing about our brain is it can't tell the difference between what's really happening. I mean, it's enclosed in a skull. It's dark up there. It can't tell the difference between saying I'm awful or I'm positive. It will believe that I am great, but it will also believe I'm not so great. And that's where we're going to talk about negative self-talk also. So we pick up negative information much better and quicker than positive information. They say it's a 3-to-1. You usually need 3 positives to offset a negative, and that's called negativity bias. We really believe that, well, some psychologists, it is believed, and I believe also, that our brains have evolved a built-in negativity bias. It was important to sense danger all the time because when we were, back in the Stone Age, we had to be aware of predators and lions and tigers and bears, right? And now we have a coronavirus, we have the Ukraine war, we have weather, we have climate change, we have the racism, the murder of George Floyd. So we just have this continued negative bias. And so from an evolutionary perspective, it's more helpful to avoid dangers and hostile neighbors than pursuing rewards such as food, shelter, and reproduction. So to say in this really improper grammatical way, it's less important to eat lunch today, and it's more important to not be lunch today. So what we want to try to do, our first tool is thought training. 3 reps each day. I'd like you to try that at least once a day for a week. Choose 3 things that are positive that have happened to you and that you're grateful for. And I can say I am a scientifically proven person. I have started doing this because it's been heavy, and our son with his depression and just the world in general. And then also talking to people that come to me, there's a bit of compassion fatigue with this job as well. I have consistently, every single day when I wake up, I just say 3 things I'm grateful for. And it doesn't have to be new clothes, vacation, car, or anything. It could be mundane. I literally every single morning, because I'm always cold, I say thanks for my flannel sheets. I say thanks for being able to be together with all of you. You can be thankful for your coffee. Be thankful you woke up. Be thankful the days are brighter. Just 3 things every single morning. It makes a huge difference on how you start your day and how much more positive you will find yourself being over time. They can be the same things. Like I said, I'm always my flannel sheets. I think there's only like 2 weeks of the year that I don't have socks on at night. So I'm loving my flannels. So what are you thankful for? So you want to strengthen those pathways by really concentrating on the good in our day. We've been constant pivoting, burnout, scarcity for 2 years, and then the virus, that fear. It's time for us, and we do have the ability to turn that around a little bit. It doesn't mean that bad things aren't going to happen and that all of a sudden we're going to be following the yellow brick road, because that's not life. Things are thrown at us. But what it does help us is in times of stress or crisis or emergencies, we're better able to stay calm, organized, and not fall prey to that emotional fear. So here's our first break. I love these bears. What are you grateful for today? I'd like people just to throw in the chat some things. It doesn't have to be 3 things. You're welcome to do 1 to 3, but just share with us what you're thankful for. It's going to be our first little practice. I'm thankful for this water. I'm thankful for all of you. We'll have Paul read them out as they come in.
They're starting to roll up. The first one out of the blocks was coffee, which is really hard to argue with.
I totally agree.
I'm thankful for my dogs every day. Rescue dogs, kids.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't seen anyone else weigh in on their flannel sheets yet.
I know.
A comfortable bed, a restful morning,
Mm-hmm.
getting up on time, family. Oh, I love this one. A good hair day.
Yes. Oh, I haven't had one of those for a while. It can change your life, can't it?
Plants starting to grow outside. I'm not sure which part of the state that person's in, but mine aren't growing yet. But anyway, conversations in person.
Yes. Yeah, makes a difference.
Yeah, sunny days, longer days. Sunlight never hurts, right?
Correct. There's even studies about, if you like podcasts, there's Huberman Labs, Dr. Huberman. He's a neurobiologist and ophthalmologist from Stanford. And he talks about the importance of just getting that early morning light. It actually releases some cortisol and sets us up to have a more productive day. So it's really nice that we're getting that early light. And, think about that. Maybe open your curtains, say what you're thankful for after you've gotten out of your flannel sheets, and just, do a couple of deep breaths facing east. It's better to be outside. The light does, or the glass does create a bit of a hindrance to the lux, L-U-X, that reaches your eyes. But yeah, sunshine is super important. I always get off on
a lot of folks weighing in on family, spouses. We've got some whole families on this seminar, which is wonderful.
Yes, so great. It's super important to think about that as, you're getting prepared for, you're all back together. And then as part of the safety council, if you have to remask, or do you follow state guidelines or business guidelines or CDC guidelines, and just stop and take a moment, take a breath, say what you're thankful for. It'll bring you back to that present moment. All right, great. Anything else, or I'll move on?
Oh, I think we've covered most of it.
Yes,
a lot of folks are very thankful for being here today.
Yes. Oh, yay. Okay, see you, bears. Move on. Okay, now we're going to talk about reframing. So our first tool was 3 good things. The second tool is luck or reframing. It is actually shown that people who believe they are lucky are more lucky. And I love this quote: you never know what worse luck your bad luck has saved you from. So I'm going to tell you a little story. It's a little parable of a Chinese farmer. And so this farmer was tilling his field with his son, and their horse ran away. And all the neighbors said, "Oh, what bad luck you have, such bad luck." And the farmer said, "Maybe yes, maybe no." A few weeks later, their horse returned with 7 wild horses. And the neighbors said, "Oh, what good luck, you're going to be rich." The farmer said, "Maybe yes, maybe no." While the son was training the horses, he fell off and broke his leg. And then the neighbor said, "Oh, what bad luck, what are you going to do?" And the farmer said, "Maybe yes, maybe no." The next week, the Chinese army came and took all able-bodied men with them to fight. And the son didn't go because his leg had been broken. And so all the neighbors were, lamenting the fact that their sons were gone and how lucky he was. And maybe yes, maybe no. But the point of it is, we don't really know what our worst luck or our bad luck has saved us from worse luck. For example, one story that I'd like to share is a colleague, Julia. Her daughter had fallen in the driveway and cut her head open. But she said, "I'm so thankful that it wasn't, it was like half a centimeter more and she would have lost her eye." So there's a way to think about that. And I'm only starting to smile because yesterday I was up in St. Cloud teaching a class, and I got back and drove home, thankfully not very far. And I don't know why not all the alarms were going off in my car, but my tire was completely flat. And I drove on, and of course we wrecked the sidewall, or whatever that wall is called. And so we have to replace all the tires. So it's $1,000. And so I was like, okay, at least we didn't get in an accident. We have to drive to Grand Rapids for a funeral. And I said, I'm going to use this in my presentation tomorrow. And my husband said, "I'm just thankful you didn't get in an accident and you didn't drive to St. Cloud and that happened." And he goes, "So you can tell everybody tomorrow, if I can do it, they can do it." So it's just how we reframe things. And we'll never know if we're lucky or not, but it is proven to create more luck for us. So talk about that positive gratitude. Wow, I'm so lucky I found this great parking spot. I'm so lucky that my tire didn't blow out on the road. I'm so lucky that I'm safe. So it can also be looked at as maybe a sliding door moment. And some of you may have seen that movie from, I don't know, it was the mid-90s with Gwyneth Paltrow. And it's kind of an intense movie, but it's really interesting because it just shows 2 different parallels of what happens if she made her subway connection or she didn't. And so I'd like you just to think for a moment, and I'd like you to share also if you can think of a sliding door moment. And I'll share one just to get us started. Today's my actual year anniversary with NAMI, so I just got an email for our NAMI-versary. That was kind of fun, and I've been thinking about it. And I ran a family service collaborative. The grant got cut. It had become super administrative, and so that wasn't really utilizing my strengths. And I had another job lined up, and then COVID hit, and that got derailed. But had COVID not happened, I would have had that other job, and I wouldn't have had this job with NAMI, which I love. So think about something that you could reframe, and maybe a sliding door moment for you. And I'd love you to share. And I didn't prep our organizers to think of one, but maybe you can think of a sliding door moment in your life and share. I'm going to check the time. We are doing well. Anything coming in? I had some examples from what I was reading up on this last year where someone, oh, go ahead, good.
Oh, I think they're still generating out there, but
They're thinking, yeah. Well, it's even,
I think life is sliding glass moments, right? When you think about it, I'm at the Safety Council because I crossed paths with an old acquaintance in the Minneapolis Skyway 8 years ago.
oh, see, and it's just, if you even take that a step further, and there's a book, Becoming Supernatural, and it's all on thought patterns, and it's, I like to geek out on brain science, neuroplasticity, and cognitive development, but he talks about, when you live in the past and you're always worrying about the past, or you're worrying about the future, you take away the time from this generous present moment. So you aren't open to new possibilities. You aren't open to those sliding door moments or things that could actually present themselves as a wonderful thing or a change. Because when one door closes, another one always opens.
We have one where this person moved from Duluth to care for her mother and ended up finding a perfect place to rent and then got her former job back in the exact same location.
So cool. Thank you for sharing. Isn't that wonderful? I've had people say that had they not gone to that party, they wouldn't have met their husband, and someone had, didn't take a job and thought it was awful, but then like this, you had something wonderful happen again. So it's all how we reframe it. Try to consider that you're lucky and just reframe it. It's also useful for positive psychology, as well as if you're looking at a new job, instead of saying, I'll never get it. Well, I'm going to reframe that. I can work at ways. I feel like I can't get this job, but there are steps I can take to try to get it. So reframing. Okay, the next tool are small gifts or compliments. Thinking about you are super, you are smart, just little tools that we can use to compliment ourselves or others. So compliments activate the same pleasure center in the brains as giving money. Giving someone a sincere compliment will make them happy, and you as well. And even just think about when you give someone a gift, how wonderful that feels, and the excitement when you see them opening it. And hopefully they won't return it like I do. I'm notorious for returning things, but appreciate the joy of those small gifts and compliments. So I put this together recently just to think about how can we do that in the workplace? Well, think about your colleagues, and this has a ripple effect too. When we start appreciating others, and there's that another parable where you wanted to try to change the world, and then you wanted to try to change the country, and then your state, and then your city. But really what we can do is change ourselves. So that can start with looking at appreciation. And appreciation makes us want to cooperate and collaborate more. Knowing that we're appreciated helps us work through and overcome challenges. So calling out something specific shows the other person you're interested in paying attention. So perhaps you're saying, wow, I really appreciate the work you do. That point you made during that meeting is wonderful. What we do at NAMI, I didn't pull one out. We have little cards that people can write out, you are awesome. And we put it up on the bulletin board. And then once a month at our staff meeting, our executive director draws a name and reads it out. And the person that is recognized gets a gift card, as well as the person that wrote it gets a gift card. So both are being appreciated. So tips for teams, acknowledge accomplishments right away. Send a follow-up email, or this was really great, you participated, I really loved your point. Write thank you notes. We're so, we've gotten away from that art of just writing out a note. It's so meaningful. Give each other props, like you guys are rocking it. And right now I would say all of you are rocking it. Good job that you're here. Paul and Erin put this program together to share with you. So you're really practicing wellness. Celebrate those traditions, whether it's birthdays, annual events, maybe some wellness days. Ignore the small mistakes personally and with your teams. There's just a lot going on right now. Give each other grace and space. Think about incentives, maybe remote work, extra time off. One city that I worked with, they did programs like this last year, and in December they gave their employees PTO time for the participation in the classes. buy lunch or treats. Everybody loves food. So that is positive psychology with those thank you notes, just writing out things. So that giving and generosity activates that region in the brain that gives us that warm glow. Studies show that giving can actually boost your physical and mental health. And I talked about thinking about when you're doing those gift giving, how that feels. Well, you actually secrete serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, those feel-good chemicals. So not only can we affect the serotonin by, I think I mentioned, if I did not, I will mention it now, that 95% of our serotonin, which is our mood regulating hormone, is produced in our gut. So that nutrition is super helpful for our brain. We can also help stimulate those feel-good hormones with giving and generosity. So I want to point out that it doesn't have to be something big. So think about a situation. What would make you happier, spending money on yourself or spending on another? I'll take a drink while you're thinking about that. And what they found, and there was actually a study done in British Columbia, that people were happy when they spent money on others. So they just randomly, not grabbed people, but solicited people in British Columbia in the city. I don't remember what city it was. And they gave them $20 and $5. So it also doesn't matter the amount. They gave them each that amount of money, and they could either buy something for someone or keep it themselves. And then they caught back up with them a few hours later. And what they found was the act of giving, no matter how big or small, makes us feel good. So think of a thank you note, a little piece of fruit, grab someone's mail, and you'll be happier too. So right now, if we were all together, we generally have everybody take a piece of candy out of a bowl, and then we ask you to hand it to the person next to you to illustrate just a small amount of giving what can do. And it's actually really fun how it actually makes a difference. So if we were in person, since it's my anniversary today, I would have brought cupcakes and asked you all to pass one to someone else. So I want to remind you to practice self-care. And I've heard a lot of companies just were self-cared out. So maybe look at it as wellness, because it's really important to put on your own oxygen mask before we're able to help others. So keep those daily routines. Try to get up at the same time. And if you're you are transitioning back to the office, maybe you need to develop some new routines, because it's easier to just kind of roll out and start doing work, where now maybe we have to dress up and get a good hair day, or hopefully have a good hair day and get to work. And, think about also, did the alarm go off on time? Was the coffee delicious? Was your favorite podcast on? Was there no traffic? Think of how you show up in that respect versus if things don't go well. And that's an opportunity to take a couple of deep breaths and practice some gratitude. Protect your sleep. If you're getting on average 5 or less over an extended period of time, check your sleep hygiene. We really need to get 7 to 9 hours a night for adults. Move that body. Practice breathing, that mindfulness. Mindfulness and meditation mirror each other. Mindfulness is the practice of thinking of something where you stop, you can push your feet into the ground, you can squeeze your hands together. You're thinking about something to bring you back into the moment. And then you're not a time traveler worrying about the past, but you can come to that moment and think about something, you think about breathing. Meditation is the practice. It's a little longer, where we don't think about anything. We just breathe and try to focus and let go. Try any of those. Practice that gratitude, 3 good things. You'll have handouts after to remind you of these items as well. I'd also like to just bring up symptoms of a mental illness or stress and depression. And these, we can all feel this at multiple times during the week, just based on what's going on. If you're trying to put out fires, and if you have kids, or if you have someone you're caretaking with, and just too much. But I'm talking about symptoms that may occur for an extended period of time. Just like you want to worry, think about that sleep hygiene if you're getting less than 5 hours over an extended period. If you or someone you love or know, or a colleague or coworker is experiencing some of this or exhibiting some of these for extended periods of time, these could be a mental illness and time to seek help. So maybe overly emotional, you can read through them. You're having a hard time concentrating, or the stimuli is too much. We're showing up late. change in stamina. You're just like so drained and tired, or you're feeling hopeless. And that's really when I knew our son was starting to, spiral down, was that hopelessness and low energy. Maybe the time pressures, or you're having those physical problems of stress, those headaches, those stomach aches, or we're turning to unhealthy use of alcohol, drugs, or food as a coping mechanism versus nutrition and celebration. Not that we want to be using drugs for nutrition and celebration. That would be alcohol or food. Just to be clear, I'm not condoning that. So what you want to do is seek help. Reach out to primary care providers. Check out therapists who are in the network. Learn what resources are available through your EAP and your benefits program. On average, people only access EAP 12% of the time, and it is a paid for part of your healthcare benefits. Post that information out, make it available so people know. Check and see what you're being offered and if it's meeting parity. Insurance, medical insurance is to cover mental illnesses. This is required to cover mental illnesses the same as it does any other disease, because it is a disease and a lot of times it's not. If you're comfortable and you feel safe, tell your manager if you're struggling. There's a lot of stigma attached to mental illnesses, and at NAMI, we like to say, well, we don't like to say, but we say discrimination, because that's what the stigma leads to. But use that support system to help you reduce your stress level. For the first time in history, therapists are experiencing the same thing that their clients are, and so it's been a little hard to get into therapists. So I put this slide together a couple of months ago just for some additional resources. Consider someone else. Talk to your doctor. Sometimes they can bypass some wait lines. NAMI partners with Fast Tracker. It's fasttracker.org. It can give you resources in your area that are available. There are online support groups. Reach out to peer support. Call a hotline. And if it's really bad, go to the emergency room. So our takeaway, neuroplasticity, we are what we think. We want to reinforce those neural pathways of love, gratitude, safety, peace, and calm. So tool number 1 was 3 good things, and you'll have a handout on that. So try to practice that. And it does, take a little bit of time to get into that routine, but it does make a difference. Reframe your thoughts. That's actually helped me as well. Like yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, $1,000. Are you kidding me? But okay, thankful that nobody was injured or the car didn't, go off the road. And think about those compliments or notes or giving in generosity, whatever that looks like to you. Maybe you want to volunteer. Maybe you just want to, if you can, there's no boundary issues, just give someone a hug. Show people that you care. Write a little note. Think about what you can do for your team for acknowledgement and recognition. Okay, NAMI, what we do is educations, classes. We have some really great resources for free on our website. We have a health library. There are booklets and fact sheets you can order. We do suicide prevention, which is QPR, question, persuade, refer, which I believe you may have done with Kay. It's recommended that anyone over 16 take it. It's a national program. It's like CPR for suicide prevention. We have our wonderful support groups for individuals, families, children, teens, LGBTQ. Check those out. We do public awareness presentations. We legislate on advocacy. And we have our NAMI walks. Again, I'd like you to consider forming a team. It's the 4th Saturday in September. It's September 24th this year. You could even just get their yard signs, but they would be along the walk, or maybe you have a picnic and you all get together and you have purchase a sign and donates to our cause, or I don't know, $250. And it lets people know that you're supporting mental health and mental illnesses. And again, has that ripple effect. You can advocate for a better health system, attend an event, volunteer, become a member or a donor. And then I'm just going to open this up to you all for any questions or comments. I am going to stop sharing the screen and throw an evaluation in the chat. That'll be sent out electronically after. But if you just want to click on it, it'll open a tab in another screen. So you can just do it after this. And we get grant money on evaluation. So if you have a moment, I'd really appreciate it. And we are at NAMI. And you can get my contact information from Erin, but I'm Catherine Christiansen. I actually have a new title. It's Employer Education Coordinator, but and I'm at NAMI Wellness Educator. NAMIMN.org. This long name, title, and email. And that's it. So let's get that link for the eval. Go over here. I'm going to throw it in the chat. And then I'm just opening this up to all of you. Let me know what you need or if there's anything you would like to discuss. Oh, and I see there's some other links in there. That's wonderful for your safety.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Erin posted the links to the handouts and some of the other information that we've got on our site. And you can see Catherine's information in the chat as well. Does anybody have any questions at all for Catherine? I really like the 3 positives, the 3 good things to remember in the morning, because it's so easy to focus on the things that aren't the way you want them. But I think for most of us, we're all fortunate. The list of things that are the way we want them is quite long.
It's really important to do that. And, it just, to talk about technology too, keep your phone face down so you're not getting the light of the notifications. And if you use it as an alarm, just use it as the alarm and then don't look at it yet. Practice that gratitude. It really sets the tone for the day. You can even do a little breathing, manifest. I also say, do well, be well, feel well, expect all good things and accept all good things. It's just that positive psychology.
Do any of the attendees have a question, either that you want to ask or that you want to put out in the chat? Either will work. Well, you know where to find us, so
Yes.
don't ever hesitate. I spend a lot of time alpine skiing, and some of that is out of area and in trees. And the positive model there is to aim for the spaces, not the trees.
So true. Oh. And that's, I'm sure you've had times when you're going down the hill where you're in that zone, that flow. Mm-hmm. That's something to think about as well. So
absolutely.
Oh,
excellent.
I see someone asked, does NAMI collaborate with COPE in serving their clients? I do not. Is COPE, I'm not sure what COPE is. I haven't heard that. And we really, we would perhaps share resources, but we don't endorse any organizations except for we partner with that fasttracker.org. But is COPE, Yolanda, do you want to share what that is? Because maybe that's a good resource for all of us to know about. And I'll Google it after also. But no, we don't collaborate with them. But having said that, our resources are on our website and free to the public. So if COPE wants to access our resources, they are welcome to do it. NAMIMN.org.
It appears that, at least in some places, COPE is a mobile crisis team function for mental health needs.
That's good. That's an interesting point, because in July, you may have heard that 988 is going to be rolled out across the country. And so that is, for those that may not know, it's 911 for suicide prevention and mental health crises. And it's going to take a little bit of time to get the bandwidth and everything, the resources up and running, because not everybody has the mobile crisis units. So thank you for sharing that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Catherine. Thank you to everybody who joined us for this seminar. We've got every month, we've got a seminar coming up, so stay tuned. And the links that we put out in the chat are right off of our website, and we can find the pieces if they aren't out there. So thank you all. Thank you, Catherine, and have a great day, everybody.
Have a great day. Take care.